Dear atheist, this message is for you. Wait, atheist? Dear? But that's me! I can't believe I just randomly happened across this message that's made specifically for me.
Dear atheist, I know you have your reasons for not believing in God.
Yeah, I suppose I do, but before we get into that, you're probably all wondering about the robot voice. Yeah, that's because this video's in Portuguese. And if I find a video that I like, but it's in another language, I kind of have two options. Option A, which I, as a based subtitles enjoyer, would prefer, is to play back the original audio and then have auto-translated English subtitles. However, I really have come to understand that pretty much everybody who watches my videos doesn't actually watch them at all, they just listen to them like a podcast, missing out on the intense visual sensations that I provide. And so if I play back half the video in Portuguese, to anyone who doesn't speak Portuguese, it'll just sound like that's exactly how Portuguese sounds to me. And option 2 is to turn on YouTube's kind of robotic but also sort of cool auto-dubbing feature, which frankly makes the overall experience a lot more off-putting. But I ran this poll on my community tab a while back asking if my channel should become more relatable or more off-putting or both. And you voted for both. So more off-putting is what you're going to get. I'll work on the relatable part some other time. I guess technically there is another option, option 3 small eyes, which would be that I don't do the video at all, but while that probably is in my best interests as a person trying to make money, I don't wanna, so go to hell. Anyway, sorry for the long preamble there, Gabriel. Kind of stepped on your toes a little bit, I know, sorry. Just start over, it's all good.
Dear atheist, I know you have your reasons for not believing in God. Maybe you've never felt anything when you prayed. Maybe you've been disappointed with life. Or maybe some church or some people have disappointed you. And then you've decided, well, I'm not going to believe in anything anymore.
Not a very comprehensive set of possibilities, is it? Your reasons for being an atheist could be praying doesn't feel like anything, life kinda sucks, or a church or a people kinda suck. So atheists' reasons for being atheists must just be emotional. Why would anyone possibly not believe you other than just their feelings? And then based on our various encounters or non-encounters with our feelings, we choose not to believe in anything. Because that's how stopping believing something works. You're like, this makes me feel bad in some way. I'm not going to believe this anymore! Coffee shop can't be out of pumpkin spice syrup. I don't believe it. I'm going to stomp my feet and hold my breath until you give me my pumpkin spice! Yeah, your idea that this is how people generally are coming to a lack of belief in your thing sounds really, really dumb. But actually, apparently, it's not just a lack of belief in your thing that we're coming to. Instead, apparently, when we get annoyed by some church person being mean or something, we stop accepting that any statement can reflect anything about reality to any extent. Apparently, this is either equivalent to or required by a lack of acceptance of the claim that everything's origin is in some extra universal intelligent willful mind. I assume that either you think there's some sort of a meaningful connection there, which isn't there, or more likely you just repeat things you hear other Christians say and you don't really think about them. Now, just 1 second before we go on with this, I want to clarify. My approach here is just to respond to whatever the auto-dubbing says he says. I'm going to assume it's close enough most of the time, and if there's any mistakes in that, if it slightly misrepresents something that he said, okay, then I'll be responding to something that's pretty close to what he meant, but not exactly what he meant. For me, it's tolerable that that happens a couple of times in the video. If somebody looks at the original video and says, no, that's not exactly what he meant, here's what he actually meant, okay, I stand corrected, no problem. I will say, though, the believe in nothing part I'm pretty sure was translated correctly. That's an extremely common thing for Christians to say.
Or maybe you simply think it's better to live the way you're living now, which is much better now, because now you have peace. You don't need to worry about rules anymore.
No, even atheists have to worry about rules, I'm afraid. Sorry to break it to you. You still gotta pay your taxes, I'm afraid. We live in a society.
You don't need to worry about religion anymore. Much less about a God who's judging you.
True, as an atheist you don't have to worry about that, but you're presenting this as the reason why people are atheists in the first place. And no, if you believe in a God and you don't like it, you feel afraid to cross him, you don't want to break his rules because you don't want to face his judgment, and you don't like that situation, you're not just going to magically become an atheist. You believe the thing. You become an atheist by stopping believing it, by becoming actually unconvinced. A person who believes in God and then for some reason decides that they're just going to live as if that God doesn't exist, intending to, I don't know, experience the omnipresent, all-powerful God out of existence somehow, with some form of will magic. A person dumb enough to think that's going to work somehow is trying to make it work in the first place because they believe the thing. That's not an atheist. And if this is all that's happening, if there's no questioning going on of the claims of the religion or the claims about the God, then it doesn't really seem all that likely that that person's going to become an atheist anytime soon. They're just going to stay a dissatisfied theist. But I do think one thing that this idea implies is correct, which is that when Christians say, oh, I was an atheist for my teenage years or whatever, very often this is the kind of thing they mean, not being an atheist. You're trying to grasp the phenomenon of atheism, you're trying to understand what it even means, or why somebody would express that sort of a thing. But because you can't think outside the Christian box, you've come up with something that looks an awful lot like just disillusioned Christianity. Because really, everybody's just different flavors of Christian, right? How could they be anything else? That's unfathomable.
Now you're free, because no one tells you what's right or wrong anymore.
No one? More like everyone, pretty much. You talk about this like your idea is that all of humanity just ceases to exist around you as soon as you pretend to stop believing in God.
But calm down.
What for? I'm not exactly bouncing off the walls here. This is pretty average stuff. It doesn't really get me that excited.
Let me ask you something here calmly, okay?
Okay, sassy robot voice.
If everything in this universe really came from nothing, then answer me. Why is there something instead of nothing?
Oh, you just want to argue with the straw dummy, huh? You don't want to argue with a real person. He's more interesting. He says things that sound more atheist-y to you than real people say.
What I mean by this question here is the following.
I know what you mean, but who are you asking? If we're being real about it, the answer is nobody. You're talking to Christians about an idea about what an atheist is that was made up by Christians. I guess none of us need to be here. We can just go. Let you talk among yourselves.
I'll try to reformulate it in a simpler way.
You really don't need to. It couldn't have been simpler. Save yourself the energy, okay? You got a lot of video still to get through here.
If there is no creator, that is, if there is no God, why does the universe exist?
I don't know. I want you to pay attention to something here, Gabriel. We're not talking about my answers. I'm not bringing you an answer. So whether there's any good reason to think my answer is correct, or what that answer is in the first place, has no relevance to anything. You're the one presenting an answer. You're the one insisting that it's obviously believable and that it must be believed, and in fact, basically that everyone already believes it. But that's not the case. As I see it, your answer is not compelling in any way on its own merits. The arguments presented in support for it do nothing for me. They seem, frankly, like a bunch of excuse-making and cope for people who have a pre-existing emotional commitment to a story about how things are. Good for you, but that doesn't make it true or well-supported. But if you really want me to make up a reason, I can do that. Here, try this one. The universe is the necessary fundamental being underlying all reality. It doesn't think, it doesn't have a will, it just always existed because it logically must. It's self-existing and it's the reason for its own existence, and no explanation is required or possible beyond that. There's no gap for a creator god to fit in because I've defined the universe as the necessary fundamental reality. As such, anything more fundamental than the universe, such as God, is impossible, and it makes no sense to ask why there's a universe or where the universe came from or who created it. There you go, that's as good a made-up answer as any. I know you guys like that one when you apply it to God. Should be pretty satisfying, right? Christians use it all the time, expecting it to satisfy us.
Why?
I don't know, Gabe. Ask them.
Why is there something instead of simply nothing?
Just move on. We spent enough time on this already. Any time spent on this is more than enough.
What I want to ask you here is the following. Who adjusted the laws of physics with such precision?
What do you expect me to say here? Who did it? That's a totally valid and meaningful question. It must have been God. How could I have been so foolish not to see it? Again, you're totally mentally trapped in your religion's box. The idea of thinking in any other terms just doesn't even seem to occur to you.
Who placed the Earth at the perfect distance from the sun, with the right amount of air, with the right amount of water, and with life so complex that science still tries to understand it today?
Who did this? Who did that? Who are you trying to convince here? Like, if you're talking to actual atheists, it's pretty obvious what the answer is going to be. If you're talking to fake atheists, the ones you were talking about before who are just Christians who get sad or whatever, well, their answer is going to be God because they believe in God. So why would you try to convince them by making points like this? That's a totally useless endeavor. There's literally nowhere you can go with that. Either way, there's no productive outcome to this. Again, it just sort of seems like you're saying things that you hear a lot in Christian circles, and you're not really thinking about how they apply to the actual situation. You're a trained parrot.
Well, it's obvious. Science explains how it works. Yes, there's no denying it.
Oh, okay. Cool. Why would we need to invoke a who if we already have science adequately explaining the process? Just to spice it up a little?
But it doesn't answer the deeper questions, which are, what are these questions, right?
Ah, these questions are what are these questions, of course. Valiant effort, Autodub, but I think your intonation on that one could use some tweaking.
Why do you exist?
Didn't you just get done saying science undeniably explains that? You included life as one of the things it undeniably explains. But suddenly, despite that being apparently undeniably explained already, we now need a different explanation. Why? To appeal to religious sensibilities about it? I don't care about that.
Why do you feel this emptiness so often?
What emptiness? Christians love to talk about this emptiness inside of you. Okay, when you say this, what exactly do you mean? Specifically, what am I supposed to be feeling that you're referring to? It doesn't seem to me like I have this problem that you insist I must have. It seems more like something that you feel like you would have if you stopped believing, and then so you assume that everyone who doesn't believe must have it.
Because even when everything seems to be going well on the outside, inside there's still something missing.
So what? You just mean that among my various feelings that are possible to have, one of them that happens occasionally is want of something. Well, yeah, of course it is. That's a survival trait. We're evolved to want things because if we don't pursue them and we die. So there's an awful lot going on in our brain that's dedicated to producing that feeling for very good biological reasons. This also applies to the feeling of never being quite satisfied with the current state of things, always wanting to improve your situation. The survival benefit of that is pretty obvious, really. It does start to become a bit of a nuisance, maybe a bit counterproductive, in a situation where you have extreme abundance for a prolonged period of time, such as is the case in a lot of places in recent times, or in the past with, like, rich people, kings, whatever. But hunter-gatherers, or dirt-poor subsistence farmers wanting more, seems like a pretty valuable urge. Unfortunately, at some point someone realized they could hijack that and say, no, you don't actually want livable conditions and stuff. You just want God. You just want to sit around and fantasize about that all day. But even so, there does come a point where that placeholder is still not enough to overpower the actual function of this urge. And then things happen.
Why does this happen?
Oh, was I supposed to wait to tell you until now? I didn't realize you were building up to a question. Sorry for throwing off the order of things.
Atheism says that everything in this universe is chance.
No, in fact, it doesn't. Atheism doesn't say anything about the universe, other than that it doesn't seem believable that it either came from a god or that gods are doing stuff in it. Again, you're just parroting stuff you heard from other Christians about what atheism is. You have no idea.
But chance doesn't love. Chance doesn't think. Chance doesn't know you. Chance doesn't console you when you cry.
And straight back we go to everything being about emotions. Hey, atheist! Without the Christianity stuff, how will you have the Christianity stuff? Chance isn't as good as Jesus. You're not going to get as much love feelings out of it, so how are you not convinced? It's like you're incapable of understanding that anyone might have an opinion, or a lack thereof, based on any consideration other than just how good stuff feels. Is this how you live? You just live in a cloud of wishes and dreams? Is there no place for reality at all?
Chance doesn't answer you when you ask why.
I don't care! Like, obviously I'm not replacing Jesus with chance. You're being silly. But whatever position I do or don't have as an atheist is simply not based on these sorts of considerations. These qualities that you're saying my beliefs should have no importance whatsoever. I assume you're saying this for a reason. I assume that you take this approach to evaluating everything, and so you assume everyone else must too. But that's not true. That's, again, you not being able to think outside the Christian box.
You can even say that you are free, but what are you free from?
The box I just mentioned, for one.
Free from meaning, free from purpose, free from a voice that calls you to something greater, to something good?
No, I'm pretty sure the box was the right answer.
The truth is that no one in this world can escape the thirst of the soul.
This world is a thirst trap, you might say.
No one. Listen to what I'm saying.
I'm listening, but my name's not No One. It's Logicked.
You can fill your days with studying, your days with fun, your days with work or with the wrong things, etc.
Ooh, what are the wrong things? That sounds mysterious, and that makes it enticing.
But at night, when everything is silent, the emptiness screams.
I'm a thirsty little soul. I'm so empty. Fill me up, please, with water. Yeah.
The Bible says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11 that God has set eternity in the heart of the human being.
Oh, well, if the Bible says it, I must care. You see what I mean about you actually just talking to Christians? Which is fine, you can talk to Christians, just don't pretend like it's a message to atheists while you do it.
Even if you don't have faith, there is something inside you that is whispering for something more.
More in the sense of eternity, so I guess more time. I mean, yeah, sure, I could always use more time. That is useful. But when you think about it, if that's a thing you do, it doesn't really say anything much meaningful about whether I'm pining for Christianity, does it?
And that something more has a name. It is God.
No, you said people want eternity, so the name is eternity. It's, I want lots of time. I don't want to die yet. Very different thing. Not easy to confuse, but you've successfully done it somehow.
And here's something very important that I need to make clear here.
What's clear at this point is you have nothing important to say.
I can't just say everything and leave it at that.
No, you really, really can. Believe me, you can. You just won't, which is annoying.
What I want to tell you is the following. You are not obligated or required to follow anything.
Thank you for the permission. Wasn't really waiting for it from you, but okay.
God does not force anyone to believe in him. And whether you believe in him or not, his love for you does not change.
Do you believe in hell? Knowing the answer to that question is very important to understanding whether you have any justification for saying that.
The Bible shows that God loves even those people who reject him.
Sorry, what? Did you read it? Like, I know Christians insist that that's what it says. That's a thing they want in their religion. But what the Bible itself actually shows is anything but that.
Jesus died even for those who said he did not exist.
Who said he did not exist? Are you talking about people now, like mythicists? Or are you talking about someone actually mentioned in the Bible? Because I don't think that's a thing.
I am not here to fight with you.
Yeah, that apartment is not really the apartment of a fighting type. That low-budget imitation of a 2018 interior design magazine aesthetic makes me want to die. Strikes me as the abode of the kind of guy I could knock over with a strong flick to the forehead.
Who am I?
Gabriel something. I don't remember. I'm gonna forget you immediately after I publish this.
I'm not here to say that you, because you're an atheist, are worse than other people, because I'm not better than you or anyone else.
I can believe that.
We're equal. In God's eyes, we're equal.
I don't know, bro. I don't know if you're on my level.
I'm here to talk heart to heart.
No, I do that with my wife. I'm not interested in your heart. This is again that excessive focus on emotionality. I don't want your emotionality. It's irritating.
Have you ever noticed that many who say they don't believe in God get deeply bothered when someone mentions his name?
No.
I'm not generalizing.
You know, yeah, actually you are. You've been doing it the whole video. No point denying it now.
But could it be because deep down there's something inside them that hasn't died yet?
Well, I would imagine that a person who's doing stuff mostly hasn't died yet.
A small flame that still burns, even if it's small.
Does anyone else who's a millennial remember being a kid and spontaneous human combustion seemed like a really big pressing issue of the time? It showed up everywhere. Everyone talked about it in the kid world. I know he's talking about something different. I don't care. I thought of something more interesting in the meantime.
Well, maybe you stopped believing in God, not for lack of arguments, no.
Well, I mean, I never stopped believing in God. I never started. Can't stop what you don't start. But other people, yeah, I'm pretty sure that is why a lot of them stopped. The fact that all you guys have are crap arguments. And once you start to notice that, it can be hard to go back.
It could be because of pain, pride, or something else, right?
Oh, you mean more feelings? It could be about feelings again. Everything's feelings. There's no reason for anything ever. Everyone's just randomly bouncing around on a string made of feelings all the time.
Because you're afraid of giving in or because you're hurt by someone who hurt you using God's name.
Or maybe most of the basis of Christianity, most of the reason people actually adhere to the religion, and most of the reasons they give in private to each other, like in sermons and stuff, and testimonies and so on, for why they believe in it at all, are feelings. Maybe the entire thing relies on you not thinking, and instead just feeling. Maybe people who are raised into Christianity are raised to process everything through this lens of feelings are all that matter. And maybe when someone finally sees through this, enough that they can start asking meaningful questions, looking for answers based on reasons, all they find is a bunch of talk about feelings and people nattering at them about their feelings and feelings and feelings and feelings. And yeah, okay, occasionally a terrible argument too. How do you expect this endless obsession with your feelings to be effective when you're talking to someone who's trying to figure out what's actually true? It has no relevance. You're doing yourself no favors. And when you tell people people that their rationally based motivations are not only illegitimate, but fake and non-existent, when you tell them that when they ask real meaningful questions and display any critical thought at all, they must just be overreacting emotionally, all you do is push them away. Which, by the way, I don't have an objection to. It's very good, keep it up, but that doesn't make it any less incredibly obnoxious.
But God is not like the religious people who hurt you.
Because humans exist.
No, God is not a system. God is a father.
God is not a system. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to assume that's a translation weirdness and move on.
A father who knows you and a father who still wants you back very much.
You just going to insist that's true, or are you going to argue for it? You're getting some free airtime on my channel here. You could at least try to squeeze out one.
And one more important thing that I can't forget to mention is the following.
You really should just stop mentioning things. That's probably your best bet. But do what you like. It's your channel.
If you ever want to follow the Christian faith, understand this from the beginning, that you need to follow Jesus, not a religion, not a group, not a church sign, but Jesus.
Oh, is this the it's not a religion, it's a relationship thing? Yeah, I've heard this before. I imagine a lot of the ex-Christians have too. But the ones you're talking to, according to the title of your video, are atheists now. So this is pointless to say, just like everything else in this video.
Why?
Because you're basically saying that everyone who disagrees with you is faking it and just an emotional wreck, which is a worthless approach on every conceivable level. I would have thought that was obvious by now.
Because only Jesus saves, only he transforms.
Blah, 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 blah. Blah.
The Bible says in Romans chapter 1, verse 20.
Well, at least this time it's in Portuguese. That's kinda new, I guess. Ooh, look at all the weird words. How new and fascinating it is to be told yet again about how God's super obvious and people are without excuse, but in another language. It's even got squiggly bits in it. I assume that's to tell you when to move your face flaps more weird.
The following. Since the creation of the world, God's
I know. I don't care. Skipping.
The creation itself is a test. Yes, your heart, even wounded, is another test.
Oh, my heart. My poor wounded heart. I got a big-ass hole in it. It's hemorrhaging blood all up in my dorsal cavity. And the only thing that can stem the tide is arguments. I'm dying. Please, Gabriel, whatever your name is. You're my only hope. Do you have any? Just one argument might do it. Please. I grow faint. I can see the darkness at the end of the tunnel. It's calling to me, the call of the void. My time is running out, Gabriel. Whisper to me. Whisper in my ear. Olhe para as nuvens. Olhe para as árvores.
And even if you continue to deny it, even if you perhaps mock it, which some do, right?
Never.
Or reject it, Jesus still died for you.
Yeah, see, you keep saying that, but you're not giving me anything to make me believe it. I've heard it. A lot. So has basically everyone watching this. We understand the claim. Let's move on to supporting the claim. We're atheists, Gabriel. Just babbling more theist stuff at us that we've heard a million times isn't gonna work.
Jesus still hasn't given up on you, not even when you turned your back. Jesus said the following in John chapter 14 verse 6.
No, you're not just going to sit there reading Bible verses at me. If I want to read the Bible, I'll go read it, okay? I'm not here to respond to the Bible. I'm here to respond to you. Use your words.
So, Jesus did not come to imprison you, to tie you down to something, no.
You know, at best, your whole video seems like a message to questioning Christians. This is not a video for atheists. Why did you title it Dear Atheists? Because you don't know the difference, I know. I don't even know why I ask that rhetorically at this point. Gotta say something, I guess.
He came to free you from that emptiness or perhaps from that addiction.
I don't really have either of those. I guess sometimes I procrastinate. Is that an addiction? I mean, I do get the stuff done that I have to get done, so it's not that bad. And yeah, that's about the closest I can think of. As far as the emptiness thing, no. I got a pretty good thing going on here, actually. I'm married, I got a couple of kids, always got something happening. Everything's pretty damn stellar, really. So, shove it.
To free you from lies, to free you from that weight of pretending that everything is fine when deep down you know very well that it is not.
Which, by the way, is what everyone in every religion is going to tell you when they start trying to convert you. And what anyone who wants to sell you like a self-help book is going to tell you. But look, here's a pro tip for you. You're not really selling the solution, okay? That's not what you're in the business of here. You're in the business of selling the problem. You're trying to give people fake problems that they wouldn't have if you just didn't give it to them. And if you do that successfully, it doesn't even matter what solution you give them, as long as you sell it as the one single solution to that exact problem, like everyone else with every other solution does. Now, where you're messing up here is that you're trying to sell the solution without first adequately establishing that there's a problem to solve. You just kind of mutter that I have one and move on to trying to sell me the answer to it. But you haven't reeled me in as a customer because I'm not experiencing like massive existential angst and dread yet. You gotta spend a bit more time exacerbating my nascent neuroses. And then once I actually am the quivering, skin-picking emotional wreck that you tried to portray me as at the start, then you swoop in with your perfect solution. Okay, that's your play. That's where the big numbers are at. You're welcome.
Now listen carefully to what I am going to tell you. The solution to this is very simple. You do not need to understand everything at once to believe. You do not need to know how to pray beautifully or know the entire Bible. You only need to do one thing.
Try to convince yourself you desperately want to believe it, I assume. I will have a confirmation bias. I will have a confirmation bias. I'm going to experience confirmation bias if it kills me, damn it!
Speak to God sincerely, in your own way, in your own time, but with truth, with a sincere heart. It could be something like this. God, I do not know if you exist, but if it is true, if you really exist, speak to me, show me. My heart is open.
Yeah, but you gotta really mean it. You gotta really want it. You gotta be real willing to accept any random thing as evidence that it worked. And if it didn't seem to work, that's just because you didn't try good enough. You gotta up that confirmation bias game.
If you do this, it is not just talking for the sake of talking, okay?
Okay.
If you really do this sincerely, God will answer you.
Yeah, and like I said, if it doesn't work, you just weren't sincere enough. It's your fault. It's still clearly true. You just gotta try harder to make yourself believe it is. That's how obvious God is, by the way. If you don't already believe in him, then you have to practice intentional self-deception to even make him seem like he's real at all. Impressive.
Maybe not right away, right? Maybe not in the way you want.
Oh, so you mean like, it might not happen in a way that has any clear connection to what you just did, or in a way that's clearly from God at all. But it'll happen though, trust me. You just gotta find some random mundane thing that you can pretend was the happening.
I was waiting, but God will answer you, and when he answers, everything starts to change.
Yes, once you manage to fallacy yourself into perceiving causal connections that aren't there, that's gonna tend to have an effect on other things. I agree.
And after that, of course, after you talk to God, ask him for this sign, start reading the Bible, start with the Gospel of John, for example. That's what I strongly recommend. I've already recommended it in other videos too.
Oh, a guy from a religion is telling me to indoctrinate myself into his religion. This must be super legit.
Talk to God every day like a son or daughter talking to a father.
Dad, when are you gonna come back from getting cigarettes? It's been 15 years and I haven't heard from you.
And very importantly, gradually move away from everything that pulls you away from God, no matter how much it hurts, okay?
Yeah, isolate yourself from everything that prevents you from being further brainwashed into my religion. Break all bonds and separate from everything that matters to you if it disagrees with me in any way. Nothing sinister about this.
You don't need to be perfect or flawless. You just need to be sincere. You just need to really want to change.
Listen, you have a problem that I just told you about 5 minutes ago, and the only solution is to really want to believe what I tell you to believe, to the point that you'll use the entire list of brainwashing techniques on yourself to accomplish it. This is the only way to free yourself from these terrible circumstances I've convinced you you're in. And you better manage, because if you don't, you'll burn in hell probably too. That should light a fire under your ass. Get to brainwashing yourself, come on.
That's the answer. That's the path, and that's why you're here now listening to me.
No, that is really not why I'm here listening to you. Don't insult me, Gabriel. I'm not a moron.
What I want to ask you here is the following. Are you going to keep trying to silence this emptiness with arguments? This emptiness in your soul with arguments? Or are you going to give God a real chance to show you who he is? For him to show you his love for you?
Silencing the emptiness in your soul with arguments. So what is the assertion now about atheists? The reason they're arguing with you about the fact that your religion makes no sense is to fill the God-shaped hole in their hearts with the arguments themselves? That's a new one, I think. Should have stuck with the old ones.
Understand one thing. Are you watching this video by chance?
No, I searched for videos like this.
It wasn't the YouTube algorithm that threw this at you.
If somebody found this on their homepage, yes it was. God is not running the YouTube homepage, don't be dumb.
No, it was God and it was Jesus.
No, Gabriel, it was the algorithm. What a bunch of nonsense. Like, no, it wasn't the algorithm, I swear. The algorithm would never show people topics to suit their interest. It had to have been handpicked by Jesus, and he fiddled it onto your screen like the ghost from Pulse. It's the only reasonable explanation!
Who brought you here?
YouTube search.
Why?
Because I typed in atheist, Gabriel. It's a website, like in a computer. It does stuff with information, that's the whole point.
Because he is still calling you.
Ugh, get on with it.
Maybe you are feeling hesitant. Maybe you are struggling inside your heart, you know?
No, In fact, I don't know. You apparently know, but you haven't really done a very good job enlightening me about it this entire video. That's what I meant when I said you're not selling the problem properly.
An internal struggle, and that's okay. It's not easy to trust again when you have already been hurt.
Trust me, you've been hurt. Trust me, you're hurting. Trust me, you're wounded. Trust me, you're empty. Trust me, everything sucks. Trust me. Just trust me, bro. No, you're gonna have to do better than that. Put in any effort, Gabriel. This is unacceptably lazy, even for a Christian. But even if you did put in the effort, you'd still just be talking to butthurt Christians. So this video would still misfire badly at its stated purpose. In its intended purpose, though, I assume it does just fine. I don't have to translate anything to see that these are mostly adoring comments from the believers. Except for the one that says, "Breaking news! World supply of straw was used in the making of this video." I like that one.
But God, He doesn't want to control you. Understand that. He wants to heal you. He doesn't want to force you to do absolutely anything. He wants to show you who He is. That's all. He wants to show you His love for you.
Again, do you believe in hell is the real question here. And I guess, does He have the various omnis that create the problem of evil? And does the Bible represent Him accurately? If not, then sure, maybe He could be consistent with that, but you should be more clear on which kind of God you're talking about.
Gosh, I'm sure you've tried many things in this world.
Ugh, the auto-dub hit you with the gosh. It must have thought whatever you said in Portuguese was super lame.
So why not try to give a chance to the one who never gave up on you?
You're saying to talk to this dude like my dad. Well, this dad of yours has been such an absentee father my entire life, it's not even clear he exists. Doesn't get to waltz back in now and go, "Hey, I never gave up on you, kid. You didn't hurt my feelings."
That's it. That was the message of this video.
Why?
I hope that somehow this message touched your heart.
Next time, if you want to try going for the atheist audience for real, try going for the mind.
If it didn't, I wish you all the best, just the same. And you are very welcome here on this channel.
Well, thank you, Gabriel. I certainly won't show up. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to leave.